Um, this is, I think, the third segment in our Building Healthy Relationships, avoiding the unhealthy relationship series. Last time we talked about, we're talking about those things to watch out for that are signs, they're signals that a relationship is toxic or even dangerous, and it needs to be avoided. We talked about jealousy and exclusive friendships last time. Now we're going to talk about argumentative people, being in a relationship with argumentative people. And when I say argumentative, I'm not just talking about the occasional disagreement or the passionate disagreement. We all have those. We're all different, and actually those can be healthy if handled the right way. What I'm talking about is someone who is always in a disagreeable attitude. Everything that someone else says, they have to contradict them, and can't just contradict them in a civilized manner. They have to do it condescendingly, or in a superior fashion. So those kind of relationships are often signs that this person is toxic. This person is not going to be good for you. Another one is name calling. Someone who is always joking, so to speak, by calling names or picking on you. And if we're honest, no one wants to be teased and called names all the time. And the more a person gets away with it, the worse the names become. Um, I remember this one family that my husband and I had counseled at one point, and neither one of them could have a civil argument. I mean, they cut each other down to the core when they would argue. They would find what would hurt the most. But to me, the worst thing is when this couple would go out with some of their friends and stuff, and they would go out to eat and all. The husband was always cracking jokes on her and teasing her and making fun of, calling her names that were made up based on her anatomy, and making fun of her and humiliating her in front of her friends. And it's no wonder that marriage didn't last. That thing was toxic from the beginning. He did not respect her, treating her that way. And in the beginning, we thought she was so rude and inconsiderate in how she spoke to him. But she had no respect for him. If he wanted to love and protect her, he would have never made fun of her. And if you're involved in a relationship with your spouse, whether it be the male or the female's making fun of you, that's not healthy. That's toxic. That has to stop. And people deserve better than that. Any kind of sexual comments, those are inappropriate. And when it's done on a continual basis, that's a sign of a greater problem too. Narcissistic personalities, narcissistic cut downs. There's this one family we knew, and we didn't counsel them or anything, but we knew them. They were a part of the circle we moved in. And they would argue with each other. And every couple has arguments. I'm not saying that should be avoided. But when they would argue, they would talk to each other in front of other people like the other one was an idiot. The other one was never right. I mean, every subject that came up, they argued about. And they would, the tones of voices that they would use with each other were so spiteful. And it's almost like that they were calling the other one a moron or an idiot. And not just in words, but in attitude as well. And needless to say, that marriage has been on shaky ground for years. So those types of conversations and that type of behavior lends to negative energy. People who produce negative energy, those relationships should be avoided. If you ever, other than just comments, there'll be some people, they may not say a word, but they give you such an uneasy feeling just walking into the room with them. If your hair stands on edge, or you feel like someone's watching you when you're around them, you might better pay attention to those intuitions that God places inside of you. I heard of one story. This girl told me this one story about a church she went to, and her husband was a pastor. And when they moved to that church, her youth girls and the youth girls at the church were very uneasy with this one family that kept volunteering. And it wasn't so much his wife as it was him, but they were always volunteering to work with the children and youth. They more so wanted to work with the youth, but usually ended up with the children because they had children, in the children's department. But whenever he would come into the room, these teen girls would just feel extremely uneasy. Even one girl described it as feeling queasy and nauseated. It just creeped her out so bad. And come to find out, after they left the church, after this family left the church, this particular church member, this guy, married guy, had been arrested in the past several times for peeping in windows and watching girls at swimming pools with binoculars and at sporting events. So he had a reputation, and for some reason the church did not disclose that and they still permitted him to work with the children and youth. So, to me that was a failure at the church, but it's a good thing that the parents paid attention to their daughters when their daughters said they had an uneasy feeling with this man and would never leave them alone with them. Pay attention to those things. God gives us, I know that a lot of people say, the feelings you get, don't trust your feelings, don't be emotional, you're being overboard, you're being paranoid. Pay attention to the paranoia. Because I am telling you, God places in some people an extra sensitivity, and the Holy Spirit himself will warn us. So pay attention to those things. Another thing is a toxic symptom in a relationship is the silent treatment as punishment or an avoidance. I kind of think of an Amish shunning with this. Think of how they just ostracize you and turn their back on you